Hello and welcome back to Coach Bill's Sports Show. This is a little special one we got for you here today. Not our normal shows. Just one I've been working on and one I thought some people might be interested in seeing. So we're going to be diving into, as you saw, SEC pods versus divisions. With Oklahoma and Texas, not doing the best, but not doing badly. And with them coming to the SEC, I just wanted to see how it would look, what it would look like, what were some of my thoughts on it, and see if anybody agreed with me. So let's take a look. So first things first, who's in the SEC right now? We got the East versus the West. Here, let me move myself up top here so we're out of the way. All right, so the East has Georgia, Tennessee, South Carolina, Kentucky, Florida, Missouri, and Vanderbilt. So some traditionally stronger teams there with Georgia, Tennessee, Florida. Kentucky's been decent the past few years. So has South Carolina, with some traditionally weaker teams in Vanderbilt and Missouri. The West, on the other hand, Alabama, LSU, Ole Miss, Mississippi State, Auburn, Texas A&M, and Arkansas. So Alabama, LSU, solid programs out west. Ole Miss has been doing some things the past few years. Mississippi State always shows up every once in a while. Same with Auburn and Arkansas. They just have those random teams that are just studs. Texas A&M's kind of a wild card out there. Not to get lost, not to get confused with. So that's what we currently have in the SEC. And these are the teams that are coming to join. As you know, Texas and Oklahoma. I don't think the expansion will stop with them, but for right now, SEC seems comfortable with going to 16 and staying there. So we got Texas, we got Oklahoma joining. All right. Now, this is my thought: is if we had it as the divisions East and West in the future, how we could kind of split that up. And it sucks for the East. I will say that it sucks for the East. So we take Alabama and Auburn, and we move them to the East, bringing Alabama, Auburn, Georgia, Florida, South Carolina, Kentucky, Tennessee, and Vanderbilt to the eastern side of the conference. And then on the western side, you got Texas, Oklahoma, Texas A&M, LSU, Arkansas, Ole Miss, Mississippi State, and Missouri. On the western side. So Missouri goes over to the west. Alabama and Auburn come to the east. And then Texas, Oklahoma move into the west. I don't think I missed anybody. Yeah, that kind of allows a balance effect to go on. And like I said, it sucks for the East because it moves a lot of the power in the SEC to the East. Where Alabama goes, the power will be. But it does set up for some nice cross-divisional rivalries. LSU, Alabama. But it also keeps some of the bigger components together. So Auburn, Alabama is still together. Georgia, Florida is still together. Tennessee, Alabama is still together. Tennessee, Georgia is still together. And it allows a little bit of new cross-divisional opponents. So that's my thought, is if we kept it at divisions, what it would look like. Now let's dive a little deeper and let's look at what they're calling pods right now. So right now, let me just move myself out of the way. There we go. Boop, boop, boop. Out of the way. All right, so I got two potential ideas for pods. Essentially, this is idea one. We got pod A, which is Texas, Oklahoma, Texas A&M, LSU. Strong pod, located together. Nice little rivalries going on. Pod B has Alabama, Auburn, Georgia, Florida sticking together. Pod C has Tennessee, Vanderbilt, Kentucky, and South Carolina. And Pod D has Mississippi State, Ole Miss, Arkansas, and Missouri staying together. So the way the pods would break down is essentially you play your pod every year. So you have, 3 SEC games every single season. And then you rotate through the other pods. So every 4 years, you would see every team in the SEC. Now, that would suck. I'm going to just use Tennessee as an example. Because there would be seasons where they would still keep a rival. So let's say they keep Alabama. So now you got Vanderbilt, Kentucky, South Carolina, Alabama. So that's your four main ones you have every year. Okay? And then let's say you grab one from each pod. So let's say you grabbed Ole Miss, Texas, and Georgia. Right? So now you've got Alabama, Texas, Georgia, and Ole Miss on top of Vanderbilt, Kentucky, South Carolina. So it's a 7-game SEC season. So maybe even the ability to keep in 2 cross-pod rivals. So Florida stays in as a cross-pod rival, maybe. Maybe you can't have 2 from the same pod, so you would go, Ole Miss or Texas, Oklahoma. Either way, there's a lot to be figured out. There's a lot of moving pieces with it, but I think it would be very interesting to be able to see a team to be able to see every team every 4 years in the conference. So that's kind of how I built these pods around when I built them, is that thought process of being able to see everybody. I think as somebody who's a college football fan, if you told me every 8 years I'd see every team in the SEC come through Knoxville, I'd be happy. I'd be extremely happy. So let's look into Pod 2. I like Pod 2 better. Pod 1, there's still some flimsiness with it, but I like Pod 2 better. So these are the second pods. Let me just get myself out the way again. There we go. And so second pods. You got Alabama, Georgia, South Carolina, Florida, Auburn, Ole Miss, Mississippi State, LSU, Tennessee, Vanderbilt, Kentucky, Arkansas, Texas, Oklahoma, Texas A&M, Missouri. So it kind of splits them up into 4 groupings. But again, it also creates a lot of cross-divisional stuff. And if you went to a 9-game conference schedule for the SEC, you'd be able to play 2 people from every pod every year. So sticking with Tennessee, let's just take a look at it. So let's say Tennessee, you got Vanderbilt, Kentucky, Arkansas. Bet. Now I get 2 from pod 1. Let's say Alabama and Florida. 2 from pod 2, Ole Miss and LSU. And 2 from pod 4, you're looking at, let's say, Texas and Texas A&M. Just to take a look. Okay. That's a lot of exposure for a lot of the SEC teams playing against each other in the best conference in college football right now. I know a lot of people are going to hate that comment, but when you look at the success of a conference, SEC has kind of set any bar you want to look at as to what a successful conference is. But yeah, I think that going to the pod setup might actually be the most fun idea for the SEC when it becomes available. Especially if you move to a 9-game series, it allows you to play your 3 pod members and then rotate through the other pods, with 2 games out of each one every year. So let's say you just went in order. So for Tennessee, pod 1, you got Alabama, Georgia first year. Next year you got Georgia, South Carolina. Year after that, you got South Carolina, Florida. Year after that, you got Florida, Alabama. Same with Pod 2. You start out and you got Auburn, Ole Miss. Next you got Ole Miss, Mississippi State. Next year you got Mississippi State, LSU. And then the fourth year you got LSU, Auburn. And you do that, and you do it in an 8-year cycle. So every other time you play the team, they come to your house. So it means once every 8 years, if you're a season ticket holder for Tennessee, you'll have the ability to see Alabama, Georgia, South Carolina, Florida, Auburn, Ole Miss, Mississippi State, LSU, Oklahoma, Texas, Texas A&M, and Missouri. As a football fan, that's exciting. That's fun. I love that. But, hey, it's just one guy's ideas. Please get down in the comments. Let's talk about it. Let's discuss it. Thank you for watching. Hope you had a wonderful day, a wonderful time watching. Please comment, like, subscribe, all that good stuff. You know it helps the channel. I'm just going to keep saying it. Hopefully people start doing it. Anyways, thank you for watching. Hope you have a wonderful rest of the day. Ready,